Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Arizona Coyotes franchise mode here in NHL 22. So last episode we had the draft in the re-sign stage, and unfortunately we had to let go of a couple players that were with the team for like the last few seasons, including Quinton Byfield, who had a really good playoffs, but we had to let him go because he was demanding like $9 million. We also let go of our long-term goaltender in Stefan Pettersson, so he's testing free agency because he was demanding a bit too much term and a bit too much money, and this team doesn't really have a whole lot of money to spend. However, this team still looks pretty good even with those losses, I'd say, because of the fact we do still have qualified. As you can see, we have Hornquist, who's going to be taking over the starting role. He's an 84. This is his last year as an RFA, so we will have to sign him to a long-term deal probably next offseason. But he is going to be our starting goalie more than likely. And then also this team still looks good together just because of the fact we have obviously still like Michkov. Agostino's up to a 94. I think that's because of statistical growth though. But you can see this team is still pretty good. And it's kind of concerning that Sebastian Aho is dropping off so fast because I didn't expect that when I signed him, because he's still making $11 million this season and next year. So hopefully he doesn't drop off too much. But yeah, hopefully we could get some good production still from him anyways. But yeah, this team should be still pretty good going into next season because there's also guys in the system that are going to be jumping up probably into like our fourth line and that type of thing. But anyways, before we get into the free agency and simulating some of the season, we do have one comment to go over, and that is from HawksFan88. He says, I would go after McDermott to boost up your top six and Beauregard as your backup goalies. So in relation to McDermott, I don't think we're going to be able to bring in McDermott unless he's still a free agent within like a month or so. The main reason is because we do still have a ton of RFAs that we need to resign, so those guys are the big priority. As you can see, we only have $23.9 million in cap space, and if we were to sign all of these RFAs, we'd basically be over the cap space by $1 million right now. So hopefully a lot of these guys drop their demanding prices a bit, and we could get them back for cheaper and whatnot like this off season a bit for the upcoming year. And then hopefully we have some cap space left over that we could use towards free agents. But I am going to still sign that Beauregard guy you mentioned because he only wanted like $850K. And we do still need ourselves a backup goaltender behind Hornquist. So I think it is a good option for us to still just bring in a goalie at $850K, which is relatively cheap. And we get ourselves another goaltender to have for our roster. So we are going to definitely sign him. So let me just go and do that. And we are also probably going to make a trade in this episode with one of our players we just re-signed. The reason being is that way we free up some cap space. And maybe it gives us a little bit more of a leeway in who we could sign in like a month or so. But we are going to sign Beauregard, so let me sort this by overall. And he was like an 82 overall goalie. Yeah, there he is. See, only $825K. This guy doesn't have a whole lot of experience, and he's not really the greatest goaltender in terms of his stats, but I still would like to bring him in. He's only 25 and might as well sign him for a cheap contract. So it does give us a nice backup goaltender to have behind Hornquist this season, and hopefully both of them simulate pretty decently. I'm kind of not sold on Hornquist yet because he hasn't been great, even though we have a great defensive core and a great roster. So hopefully this team can still simulate decently with these two goaltenders and without Pettersson, because losing Pettersson is kind of a big blow, but at the same time, at least we don't have to pay him a lot of money, which is kind of nice. He has no teams interested in him right now, so I don't know if he's going to sign a one-year deal somewhere or not. And he was also mentioning about that McDermott dude, but you can see right now he's wanting $6 million, which eats up a lot of the cap space we have. So right now we aren't going to sign this guy, but if he's still there in a month and he wants maybe like $3 million, $4 million, and if we have the cap space after we get our RFAs back, maybe I will re-sign or sign that guy for our roster, depending if we have that space available. But first, we are going to be making a trade. The reason being is because I was looking through our roster a little bit more in depth after recording last episode, and you can see guys like McIntyre are ready to crack into our lineup on the fourth line. McIntyre is a very good defensive forward, and he has X factors, so I'd like to play him on our fourth line this year. And then also Christoph Ustorf. This guy's a grinder. He's also ready for our fourth line, so I'd like to get him into our roster. And then there's also a chance Kagerodov could even jump up. So like there is one player, and that player is Sapolvyov. I think we're going to be trading away just because with the amount of depth coming up from the minors, I think Sapolvyov doesn't really have a home here. And I'd like to probably keep, Gallagher and Redmond on our team instead, because both those guys could play on the third line. I was debating about maybe trading away the rights to one of them, but I think moving Sapolvyov makes more sense because he's like 28 already, and he's the same overall as them. So yeah, we're going to try and trade away Sapolvyov. I think I just, like, before this recording, I think I was getting offered like thirds and fourths for him. So I should be able to get a decent amount of picks back for him, even though Sapolvyov hasn't been really a key roster player for this team for multiple years. He's only played like one full season, so we are just going to trade him away and free up some cap space, which should give us more leeway into signing maybe some better free agents once we actually start doing that, because I don't think we're going to sign any free agents other than that goalie until we find out what's happening with our RFAs, because we do still need at least maybe one depth defenseman, because I think Bilesma might spend another year in the AHL. So but let's see what we could get for Sapolvyov. See, there's like offers with like defensemen available, but we don't need defensemen, and pretty much everything else is just third and fourth round picks. So we'll just take a third and a fourth from, who do I want to take it from? I don't know who's the worst out of all these teams, so I should probably just choose a random team. It probably would be an Eastern Conference team, just so we wouldn't have to face Sapolvyov that much. So, where would Sapolvyov look the best? Probably in Detroit. We could send him to Detroit, just the team that we just beat in the Cup Finals, just to kind of say, hey, there's a prize for you. But then again, Detroit's close to winning a cup, so those are going to be late round picks. Where do I want to send him? Let's send him to the Buffalo Sabres. I don't know where Buffalo is at in this point in time, but we'll send him to Buffalo. Best of luck there, Sapolvyov. Definitely sucks to trade him away because he was not that bad of a player for our team, I'd say, but with the amount of guys coming up, it just doesn't make sense to hold on to him much longer. So so there is our trade that we're going to make, and we are going to wait on our RFAs for now as well. So we just need to find out if that goalie is going to accept, and we will assimilate to probably right around here and see if all our RFAs are starting to accept, that type of thing. Because once our RFAs accept, then we'll be able to see how much money we actually have to spend on free agents and whatnot. Because right now I'm not 100% sure what we got. So Beauregard is going to accept, so he is now our backup goaltender, which is good. Always great to bring in like an 82 as a backup. That's not too bad. Let's see what we got here. Is our RFAs going to start accepting, or are they going to still hold out for more money? Some of them should start to accept soon, but more than likely we're not going to be able to get McDermott, because I don't think McDermott's going to hold out an entire month to get a contract. I could be wrong with that. Still, all of our RFAs are holding out at the end of the month, which is kind of scary. Let's see if they've dropped their asking prices a lot. Because, yeah, we're up now to $25 million in cap space because of the fact that we just traded away Sapolvyov. What's the asking prices on these guys now? Okay, they're all dropping down a little bit, so they should accept within the next few days, I'd assume, because I remember before Sasaki wanted like $5 million, so he's dropping his price quite a bit. But yeah, all these guys are still making like over $3 million, most of them, so it's still going to be a bit expensive, but I need to make sure they accept first before we sign any free agents. We should be able to find ourselves a depth defenseman anyways at the start of the year, so I'm not worried about not signing any big-name free agents. But we always have the assets that we could trade away and stuff like that. Let's go another week because we still haven't found out from those RFAs. Are they still going to hold out? They're still holding out, and it's like middle of August. It's longer than I expected. I'll offer them contracts now because might as well just get it out of the way at this point. So 1 year deal. Wait, 3225. Yeah, I'll have enough cap space to re-sign all these guys, so I'll just give them what they all want. But I wasn't expecting them to hold out till mid-August. I thought they would accept within like the first month at least. You guys could get all your money that you deserve. There you go. After a cup win. Hopefully some of them will still stick with this team after next season, because if they're all like UFAs, then we might lose one of them. So there you go. We should be able to afford all of them back. So let me advance a couple of days, and then we'll see how much cap space we have to spend towards a free agent if we want to bring in a free agent. But hopefully there's still some decent stuff out there. I know I offered Hornquist a contract. Don't worry, he's going to accept. Yep, they're all accepted, I think, now. Let's just check to make sure. And if we go to RFAs, yep, we got them all back, and we still have 16 million. So we could have technically brought back Byfield if we wanted to. And we could have signed McDermott even, which is kind of nuts. There is still some good players in free agency. Not really a whole lot. So if we wanted to bring in somebody, we could. Bloodoff's a decent defenseman, but I don't really think we need defenders at this stage. But for forwards, there's not really anything. Oh yeah, I was thinking about Josh Norris actually, wasn't I? Yeah, I think I might actually still bring in Josh Norris. But then in a way, we traded away Sepulveda for no reason to an extent. The thing is, the amount of youth we have in the system coming up, I don't really know if signing Josh Norris is realistic or not. He's pretty solid of a player, I know that for a fact, but I don't really know if we should sign him or not. What about defensively? Because we definitely need ourselves a depth defender. Any defender with really good stats. This guy has some really good offensive awareness. And he might fit our top four. So I'm going to sign this guy because maybe he'll play on like our power play lines at some point. I don't know. But if this guy's like a good offensive defenseman and a good depth defenseman, and say Chikrin gets injured, this guy could take over on the power plays. So I think that's a good deal for us. We're going to sign that guy for 1 year as our depth defenseman. Usually I go for more defensively minded depth defenders, but that guy looks pretty decent, so might as well. And am I going to sign ourselves a forward? Zadina's still a free agent, which is kind of funny. He's dropped his asking price by quite a bit, but I don't really want to bring him back because he doesn't fit this roster. How about Vesalainen? Not really interesting. The only really one is Josh Norris because he could fit into our top 6 hypothetically. Bjorkstrand's 37 and still a free agent. There definitely is some options if we wanted to bring in somebody, but I don't really know if any of these guys are worth it. Yeah, Walker. Do I go after Josh Norris? Just in case of the drop-off of Aho, because if Aho drops off, then that's not great for our roster. You know what, I'm going to sign Josh Norris. It's really cheap. If need be, we could always trade him away, but I think I want to just bring in somebody for that top 6 because I don't feel safe with Shishkinov necessarily being the second-line left winger. So I'm just going to bring him in and see if that helps out our team or not. But also that might mean somebody like McIntyre or whatnot might be in the AHL. So, but that's good to get Josh Norris in. He's been a free agent for multiple years, though, which is kind of funny. So he hasn't played in a long time, but hopefully he could still produce at the NHL level. I know he's going to start dropping off soon, too, because he's 33, but it does give us more depth into that top 6. So let's go best lines here, and let's call up players that I need to call up first. Let's see what we got in the minors that shouldn't be down there. Utsdorf, I'd like to have him in. I'd like to have McIntyre in. Kagerodov is technically ready as well, which is kind of scary. Bilesma, yeah, he could stay down there for 1 more year. I don't want to rush him into the lineup. And then let's go back to the NHL, and we're going to send down Wolf. We're going to send down Penner as well, even though Penner's technically NHL ready too. Damn. We have way too much prospects in this team. So we're going to send those 2 down for now. And yeah, we'll go to best lines on this for now as well. Let's see what we got here. Utsdorf, I don't want to have him scratched is the problem. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have brought in Josh Norris, but hey, it's like a little bit more depth to our roster. 84 on faceoffs. Aho's 84 as well. Yeah, I could do something like this. Yeah, I'll do that. Shelly Agostino, or not Shelly Aho and Norris. Yeah, that looks good. I think that looks good. And then we will run with Shishkinov with Redmond, I think, and Bentley. And then we'll run with McGillis, McIntyre, and yeah, Gallagher is not really getting a lot of ice time. So I don't know. Somebody eventually on the wing or bottom 6 is going to have to move out if we want to get like Utsdorf in. I'd like to play Utsdorf for sure, but I don't think there's a way I could get him in. Because McIntyre, I think I would rather keep in since he's got X factors. Unless I was to trade Gallagher in this episode since he's got 1 year left on his deal anyways. Who's a better fit for that fourth line out of curiosity? It might be Utsorf. Hey, let me just take a look at this thing. More than halfway. And then we look at Gallagher. He's also more than halfway. I don't know. I think I might have to trade away Gallagher, because I could call up some guys from the minors as depth pieces or sign some more depth pieces. Or actually, I'll call up Gallant and what's his other name? The other guy's name, Wolf. I'll call up Gallant and Wolf as our depth forwards, and I think we are going to probably trade away Gallagher as well, because somebody in that bottom six has to go in order to get these younger guys in eventually. Like Kagorodov is probably going to take over his roster spot regardless next season, like not this year but the next year. So we'll call both those guys up. Actually, I can't call them both up right now. I'll call up one of them, and then we will, we'll trade away Gallagher, which you guys might think is a bit questionable, but with the amount of youth in the system, really, it's hard to kind of keep that bottom six the way it is right now. So, yeah, let's trade away Gallagher, because I don't think he's part of this team anymore. Redmond's probably better anyways, because he's younger and the same overall. So let's just trade away Gallagher, and he's on a one-year deal anyways, and if he's still an RFA, he might demand more money, and we're not going to have a lot of money to re-sign him anyways, probably. So let's see, Gallagher could get us some players. I don't really want a roster player back, though. Redmond actually has less value, which is interesting, but I don't want to move Redmond, I don't think. Redmond had 35 points last year, plus 12. Gallagher, 43 points to plus 12. You know what, actually, we're just going to play Utsorf in the minors for one more season, but I think somebody has to go this offseason. I think somebody has to go. Just don't know who it's going to be. But, yeah, our roster on the bottom six is going to have to go through some changes, I think. But for now, we are going to send down Utsorf to the AHL, let him play one more season down there, even though he technically is NHL ready. And then I will call up, what's his name? Not you, Uriel Gallant, the guy that was playing in the playoffs when we had injuries. So the AHL team is going to be probably really stacked, but it is what it is. So we'll go best lines down there. Who scratched? Lawrence. He should technically be playing, and Bailey doesn't matter that much. So we'll put Lawrence in instead of... I don't like the Gage Penners down there, to be honest. Yeah, we'll go with something like that, I guess. Maybe change that up a little bit, because Utsorf's more of a grinder. There you go, that works. Okay, that's good. Defensively is fine. Hordachuk's almost ready as well. Jeez. I'm like swimming in prospects. Galiev's almost ready to be a backup as well. Yeah, there is way too much prospects in this AHL team. We'll take Sidu out of the lineup, though, and we'll get in the younger guy in Lawrence. And that's good there, too. Perfect. But yeah, this team has a lot of players that could jump up. Like, look at this. Kagorodov, Appleby's getting close. Penner, Utsorf, Dalmo, Bykov technically even. And then Bilesma and Hordachuk are both down there. Those are both our top defensive prospects. We have Galiev. And then our NHL roster looks pretty much really deep again, as it normally does. So there is our roster for the start of the season. And that is pretty damn gross. I like that top six still, even though Aho's dropping off a cliff. He's a bottom six forward now. What the heck? He was literally an elite when we signed him, or traded for his rights. And now he's dropped off in a year to a bottom six. So he's probably retired at the end of the year, which will give us more flexibility with the rest of our roster, which is good. Because then Shishkinov could jump up into the top six and all that type of thing. But there's our roster for the start of the year. A little bit of a long start to this episode, but let's simulate a little bit of the season just to see what our team is up to. So we'll probably simulate 41 games again, I think, just because I want to go to the halfway point to see how players are doing and how this team is doing, so we kind of know how we are halfway through the year. But yeah, I think we'll go 41 games, which might be a lot of simulating already, but I want to get back to the Cup Finals again if I can. But yeah, I think this team's going to be pretty good this year. We should definitely be a playoff team. It's just all about if we could actually repeat as Stanley Cup champions or not. So 6-0-1 in the preseason. That's pretty good. Who led us in points? Probably Mishkov. Nope, Calvin Shelley of all people. Nice. Not bad. Hopefully Shelley has another solid year, because last year he scored 40 goals, I think, like that behind Michkov. So definitely like that. So let's go 1 month at a time, but we are going to go to game 41, or halfway through the year. So to game 42, I guess you could say. But I want to see how we are in our first 41 games of the year. Start off with an OT loss. I'll take it still. It's a point. And off to a pretty good start. Points in every single game to start the year, which is exactly what we need. Our only losses came in extra frame until that last game of the month against the Pittsburgh Penguins, 4-1-3. Pretty good. I'm not going to look at any player stats until we get to game 42 as well, because I just want to kind of see if that's going to be an interesting thing. If like Mitch Kov's all of a sudden just going really off and whatnot. But that's our first 8 games of the year. Let's go another month. But yeah, this team should definitely be making the playoffs. I feel like it's really hard to win back-to-back Stanley Cups in NHL 22, so I don't know if I'll be able to do it or not. It really depends if we make the right moves and the right roster changes and stuff. So there's a 7-6 win over the Detroit Red Wings after we beat them last year in the Cup Finals. Kagerodov has been injured in the minors. That's really unfortunate. That's one of the best prospects down there. And now Sasaki has been injured in the NHL. I'll go replace player, because that will put in that offensive defenseman for us, and we'll see how he does in replacement. And now Sasaki is back. That's good news, because we need Sasaki back there. Our defensive core is a bit weak, I'd say, with the loss of Lambos, but it's relatively solid still, because we drafted Burkov, so I'll take it, I guess. Baikov is back for the AHL team. Where was he playing? I think it was on this line where Sidu is, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't want to put that guy. There you go. And then Bailey is out of the lineup as well, because we do got Kagerodov back. But yeah, Kagerodov is definitely somebody that's going to be very intriguing when he gets to the NHL, just because of the X factors and the fact he's a good shooter. So, and yeah, that's good. Okay, so 12-6-5, so a bit of a sluggish start. I didn't want to go back already, but there you can see the point leaders. Agostino, 34 points in 23 games. So our team is off to a really good start offensively. We still have a ways to go, though, in terms of simulating in this episode, just because, like I said, I want to go to 41 games. But it seems like the team's doing good offensively. I'm not too sure if it's the goaltending right now that's the issue, because with the loss of Pettersson, which we actually didn't take a look at where he signed, that is a little bit of a blow to the goaltending, but it is what it is. Sasaki's been injured again, so our defensive core is going through a little bit of injury troubles, especially Sasaki. And now he's back again, which is good, but we're still getting a lot of extra frame losses, so we're not losing in regulation too often, which is good news. Let's see, game against the Los Angeles, 8-3 win. There's OT losses again. Yeah, we have so much extra frame losses. Like, we have more overtime losses than we have regular strength losses, which is kind of weird. Game against Tampa Bay, another OT win. Nice. Game against the Blues, shootout win. Yeah, we go to overtime and shootout a lot, and now Jacob Chikrin has been injured with back spasms. That's a big blow, but like I said, that offensive defenseman might help us out. 21-8-9 to start the season, so that's 38 games in, so I think we need to do 3 more games, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yep, 3 more games, but yeah, our team is definitely doing really well, getting points in games that we lose in even, so yeah, we're a very hard team to beat in regulation, which we just lost, of course, in regulation 2 times in a row. And then there's a win over the Canucks. So 22-10-9 at the end of this episode. Pretty solid. 55 points in 41 games from Agostino. He's on pace for 110 points this year, which would be more than last year where he had 100 points. So yeah, that top line is definitely doing quite well. And it looks like at the moment we are the 3rd best team in the NHL behind Detroit and the Sabres. Interesting. Let's take a look at some team stats first before we take a look at the player stats, because I'm kind of curious if our power play's been good and all that type of thing. So, yeah, currently the 3rd best team in the NHL. That's pretty good. Goals for per game, we are not top 10. It looks like actually just in the top 10. 3.54 goals per game. Goals against average-wise, we've dropped off in terms of defensive play. Looks like a bit. Yeah, we're not the best defensive team anymore with the loss of Pettersson. So we could always upgrade our defensive core if we wanted to. We are allowing quite a bit of goals. Power play percentage wise is pretty solid as well. Looks like top 10, I think. Maybe just outside of top 10 at 19.3%. And our penalty kill has been really bad again. I think it was bad last year as well, wasn't it? 78.1%. So we need to find a way to get that penalty kill better. 10-4-3 on home ice and 12-6-6 on the road. Interesting. Let's take a look at those player stats halfway through the season. So we start off with our centers. Aho is still doing really well, even though he's dropping off a lot. 37 points in 41 games. He's off to a good start, 32 points in 41 games. Norris, 25 points in 41 games. A little bit less than I was expecting to when I signed him, but I think it's not that bad still. He's still on pace for like 50 points, so that's okay. Bentley, 24 points. That's actually really good considering he's on the third line, but he is also getting power play time, which Norris is not, so that's not too bad. Solid depth scoring from the centerman. Left wing wise, Agostino, like I said, is just going off this year. 55 points halfway through the season. And let's see, yeah, he's on pace for a career season. Him now with Michkov is a very good combination on that top line. So he's carrying off where he left off in the playoffs. Shishkinov, 24 points, a little bit less than I was expecting, but he's a third liner. McIntyre, not a bad start to his career, 19 points in 41 games. He is shooting at 14.3%, which is also pretty solid. But yeah, that's very interesting. McGillis has 12 points in 41 games. It's not that great, to be honest, for a fourth liner, but I mean, he's on pace for 24 points. It's okay, I guess. Michkov, 53 points in 41 games. He has more assists than goals this year. That's not what I was expecting. He's only on pace for maybe 46 goals this year. But I know he does heat up usually in the second half, but he is on pace for his third straight 100-point season. He's on pace for 106. But it seems weird that he's not scoring a lot. Shelley's also not scoring a lot. That's a bit weird. 25 points in 41 games, 13 goals only. That's a bit questionable. Last year he had 34, the year before he had 41, but he's only on pace for 26 this season. So he's kind of going back to his like stats where he kind of fluctuates in goal scoring. Like if he could pick it up again, like he normally picks it up in the second half as well, I'm pretty sure, but still I'm kind of questionable about that. Redmond, 15 points in 41 games, and then Gallagher, 14 points. The depth scoring hasn't been fantastic, I'd say, so far, but it's not been terrible. And then defensively, Chikrin, 19 points, 38 games. Tukinen also 19 points, but 41 games. Burkhoff, 11 points in 41 games. That's not a bad way to start off your career on the top 6 pairing. He already has the exact stat line he had when he was in the DEL, which is kind of interesting. Not bad. DeMaio, 7 points, Guerrero 6, and Sasaki 3. So our defensive core has been very defensive and not picking up a lot of points. Like Chikrin's definitely dropping in point production, it looks like, by quite a bit. He still has one more year left on his contract. And then that offensive defenseman we brought in has not picked up anything so far, which is kind of not what I was expecting. And goalie-wise, Hornquist has been not bad, but he's not been the same level as Pedersen has. And then Beauregard has been terrible as the backup so far, it looks like to me. He's won games, but still an .892 save percentage is not good enough when you have this type of team in front of you, I'd say. So there is that. Let's take a quick look at where Pedersen is, because I did not take a look where he was. And I think that might be it for this episode at that point. So we want to go to the player search. But yeah, I don't know if we need to make trades or not. We probably do. But maybe this team is just simulating weirdly in the regular season, and then when it comes to the playoffs, we are going to be really solid or something like that. But where did Pedersen sign, out of curiosity? He signed... Actually, did I spell his name right? I must have not spelled it right. It must be Peterson instead, not Pedersen, right? Or is it 2 S's? I'm not sure how his spelling is. Yeah, it's Peterson. Okay. So, Stefan Peterson's in Colorado. And he's not playing that much, so he must be the backup there. He's 6-3 through 9 games. That's weird that he's only played 9 games halfway through the season. But he's got a really good stat line there in Colorado. They actually did sign him to a 7-year deal at 8.845, so they definitely kind of overpaid on a goalie, but he's playing really good there, so it kind of makes sense. But why has he not played that much? Do they already have a good goalie there in Colorado? Because if they do, I don't know why they signed a goalie to a 7-year deal, because that just makes no sense. Let's take a quick look at that. Yep, they're literally playing an 88 Stefan Pettersson, who they just signed for 7 years as a backup, behind an 89 they just signed as well, I think, in free agency on a 6-year deal. Because Street was a free agent too. Yeah, they signed 2 goalies that are 89 and 88 as a 1-2 punch. What is the point on that? And where's the asset management when you're signing these guys both to like 6-year plus deals? Yeah, and this team, I don't know if they're built to win a Stanley Cup, but with that goaltending and then also that top 2 pairing and a solid top line, maybe they can win a Stanley Cup, but still that's a little bit questionable to do that type of thing. So I think that's pretty much going to do it, guys, for this episode of our Arizona Coyotes franchise mode. So in next episode, we might make some trades if you guys think it's necessary to address our roster and our depth scoring. But if the depth scoring is not like clicking in the regular season, maybe you'll just do that in the playoffs, because sometimes the regular season it's just kind of a crapshoot. But once you make the playoffs, the team all of a sudden just kind of like flips a switch and does really good. So who knows? Maybe we just keep this team together and see if this team could win a Stanley Cup in the playoffs. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.